Hello and welcome to the shoot around. A little bit different than what you're used to, of course. We are here in sunny SUNY Oswego, right in front of Lake Ontario. Dave, it's your first time in Oz.
My first time in Oswego.
How does it feel?
Beautiful place. I was expecting beauty, right here on Lake Ontario. It's wonderful view, beautiful day. In Syracuse, we're expecting rain. So I'm glad I made the trip up here and get some sunshine.
I mean, I'm Syracuse born and raised, but I got pride for my Oswego town. Dave, because they can see us today, I feel like we should at least, for a second, we'll comment on the wardrobe. Now you're going with your hometown there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the wardrobe would be for the show today, but I went ultra casual.
Right.
But I, got the nice blue plaid and then the blue shirt.
The Pittsburgh champion.
Supporting the. I guess I consider this a Penguins shirt because of the color.
Right.
But it actually, it covers both the Steelers and Penguins.
That it does. I'm rocking my Campus Life employee shirt. I was working this morning, so wanted to don that for the show today. Let's jump right in. We'll start each of the podcasts like this today. Every series in the NBA 1-1.
Right.
And so they're all in a very unique spot. Everyone's building up for the Game 3 anticipation. Of course, we're recording on Thursday. Ain't no games.
Perfect day to record.
Right.
Because, no action going on today, which makes it the fans even more anxious.
Right. Each series is very built up. Right now we're going to talk about the Miami-Chicago series. Huge game for the Miami offense last night.
Yeah.
They go out. They end up winning by 43 points. Dave, I guess the first question I got to ask is, what do we take away from such a lopsided affair for the rest of the series? I think there'd be a lot of evidence to show that maybe Chicago, maybe this is really what it's going to be like. Is Chicago, should they be concerned?
Yes, I think to a degree they should be concerned, but like we talked about before we went on air, Chicago did their job. We talked about in our last show, their goal was to win one in Miami, and they did that. Even though they lost by however many it was, 25, 30, whatever the final score ended up being, they won the first game and they go back home. They actually have the home court advantage now because they took one in Miami. Now, will they be able to hold serve? I'm not sure. But right now in this series, it's 1-1, and Chicago's got to be pleased with themselves.
Right. I think, I'm not trying to make light of the beatdown that Miami put on them last night, but if you think about it, I think it's just as much a blow to Miami's ego that they dropped a game in Miami as it is that Miami got to douse Chicago by 43.
Right.
I think going into Game 3 in Chicago, both teams are going to bring in their pros and cons from the first two games. The point I keep bringing up, and Dave, you started to touch on it there, Chicago did their job. Now they're in a position where they can win by 1 point in Game 3. They can win by 1 point in Game 4, and they can win by 1 point in Game 6. If they win 3 home games, which teams do, teams win games at home,
right.
They advance. And I think we should really be hard on Miami. I mean, that's why they really reveled in the beatdown last night, because they knew they screwed up. They screwed up Game 1. And I think we should hold them accountable for that. Miami, they're in a tough spot. And I can't think of a team that you would want to be more weary of in the playoffs. I mean, Chicago is such a physical team. That game was it was like a wrestling match.
They are a physical team. I think it's a good time to go to our first question from our fans out there. Christian Murata, thanks for sending in your question. He asked us, Joe, because it seemed like Miami was so angry last night about the first game loss, is Chicago done now? It looks like they're completely overmatched by Miami, at least last night. Can Miami continue to contain this anger and win the next 3 games?
I think the answer is no. I really don't see Miami beating Chicago, certainly like this, but at all for 3 games in a row. And I think the reason is because Chicago takes it so personally. Even though they were losing at times, I mean, you looked at the score and you're like, I can't believe Chicago's down by this much. It almost didn't feel like it, because every possession, Chicago was relentless. If there was a Miami player in the lane, they were going to get thrown around. And that's the pride that Thibodeau has instilled in this team.
Right.
I don't think Chicago drops both games at home. I really don't. I think at the very least, Miami would split and then earn their home court back. I don't know how Miami's going to walk into the United Center and take both games.
I agree. I don't think they're going to take both. I don't think the series is over by any means. I'm not saying Chicago's going to win, but I do think that Chicago's in this series.
Right. I mean, I wrote an article for Pick and Splinters about Joakim Noah and the team, and they play with so much passion. And that was the part of the game when it was getting really ugly, when there were ejections. That was a part of the game that it came out. This team is very prideful. They want these games. They love that they're playing Miami, right? I don't know if Miami loves that they're playing Chicago.
Yeah.
They couldn't have drawn a worse second-round matchup. Chicago loves it. Dave, I guess we'll go to our second question, too. We had a passerby, Jordan, nice guy, and he asked us, well, guys, in this series, if Chicago gets down, if Miami wins Game 3, should we see D. Rose come on the court?
Well, like we talked about in our last show, I think Derrick Rose should try and put more effort into playing anyway. But that is a really difficult question. I would probably say no. And I know that's kind of conflicting to what I said before, but I don't think he should rush back just because his team is losing in the series.
Right, especially with that type of urgency, right?
Right.
Like, oh, Derrick, we're down. We need you to save us. That is not how this is going to play out.
Do you want to put that kind of pressure on a guy who hasn't played in 12 months?
Right. I don't.
Play against the best team on paper in the league. So no, I don't think that's a good idea. I think if he thought he could play, he would probably be playing.
I totally
he knows
agree.
His body better than anybody else.
I totally agree. I don't think Derrick should come back because for the sake of coming back. I don't think he should come back to try to be a hero. He waited this long. He's been meticulous. I'm rehabbing. I'm going to make sure my body's back to 100%. If it's not 100%, he can't come back.
Right.
Dave, I guess the final point about this series that we should look over, we talked about Game 3, Game 4. It's in Chicago. The Bulls have that home court advantage. But there were moments in Game 2 where Miami was scoring so easily. You just wonder if they're at their full capacity, if they're clicking at their highest level, can Chicago actually stop these guys, regardless of where they play? I think it's a question that has to be asked, because I don't know, LeBron. There was one stretch where LeBron found Norris Cole wide open in the corner, back-to-back possessions, back-to-back three-pointers, and you just felt sorry for Chicago. Like, I didn't know where Norris Cole was. My eyes have been on LeBron the whole time. Can they actually stop these guys?
When they're playing like they can, like they did last night, it's hard to say that they can. Right. I don't think there's a team in the league that can. It's really all up to Miami. I mean, Chicago played very well in Game 1, but the truth of the matter is Miami did not play as well as they could have. And I would say that was probably more of the reason why Chicago won. Not to take anything away from them, but Chicago's got to play their best game every time out if they expect to win. And has got to hope that Miami is a little bit off their game, because I don't think they can stop them.
We'll see. Game 3, Friday night in Chicago. Good luck.